Hello and welcome to BOI Weekly. The federal government's 75 billion naira survival fund and guaranteed offtake stimulus scheme has essentially moved into the second phase. But despite half of the funds so far released, the scheme has gained so much traction given the reach and impact it's had not just on the beneficiaries but also on the larger economy. Today on the show, we will take a performance review of components of the first phase, which include the payroll support, artisan and transport, as well as the formalization tracks. We will hear from the scheme's beneficiaries, partners, and of course, stakeholders to get a glimpse of factors responsible for the success. I'm Kayode Alayande. Welcome to the program. The year 2020 was one many across the world would never forget in a hurry. COVID-19 struck, and in no time, global and regional economic activities were virtually grounded, except in most cases for essential services. Nigeria wasn't spared, which led to the livelihoods of many being compromised as the pandemic continued to firm its grip. But the federal government had a plan to shield local businesses, especially those most vulnerable.
In keeping to its promise to support businesses overcome the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government is set to commence nationwide implementation of two MSME initiatives, namely the MSME Survival Fund and the Payroll Support Schemes. These are the first to be rolled out, and the two schemes are amounting to the sum of 60 billion naira, and then the guaranteed offtake scheme, which is estimated at 15 billion naira. Both schemes are at the core of the 2.3 trillion stimulus package, also known as the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan, being implemented by the Buhari administration to help cushion the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and with a view to boosting the economy by saving existing jobs and creating new job opportunities. To kickstart the process of implementation, on 4th August 2020, the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Otumba Richard Adeni Adebayo, CON, inaugurated a 10-man steering committee chaired by my humble self, with membership drawn from the private and public sectors, including the Vice Chairperson, Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, Chairperson of First Bank. We also have the representative of the National Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, as well as several MDAs, notably ITF, SMEDAN, Bank of Industry.
With no time to spare, members of the Survival Fund Steering Committee moved swiftly across the country to get the different categories of beneficiaries on board, beginning with the payroll support.
The payroll support involves those who run companies who have been challenged by COVID in their ability to pay salaries to their workers. And therefore, the government has instituted a program that allows company owners to apply for salary support of a maximum of 50,000 naira for a maximum of 10 members of staff for a period of 3 months. So depending on how you qualify, and all the qualification criteria have been made simple in order to ensure that as many companies can benefit from it as is possible within the budget that we're working with. The good thing about the way we're working is that all of the programs have been distributed in numbers between all of the states of the country. So every Nigerian, no matter what state they are based in, has the opportunity to apply and be part of the program. We're trying to cover every level of Nigerian that is involved in any form of economic activity. So we want to be able to support a tailor who was not able to do any work for months because of the lockdown. We want to be able to support the shoemaker, whatever your trade is. And the associations are represented here because the most structured format by which we can engage all of those groups and avoid any form of misuse or misrepresentation is through your trade associations. So we will depend very much on your participation and the honesty of the groups in ensuring that those who are qualified, who are actually in the trade, who are qualified, are the ones that are supported through the registration process by your associations. There's simple requirements, there would be simple evaluations, but responsible evaluations. And once that is done, we will go ahead to disburse to those who are approved for it.
Even though the Bank of Industry is warehousing the funds for the intervention, the MD CEO, Mr. Kayode Biton, was also out in the field to educate the beneficiaries.
The one we're about to launch today is the transport scheme. Initially, the artisans and the transporters scheme were one. But the other half of it, the artisans, had started. Because the idea was that between the artisans and the transporters, both combined, all over the nation, we're looking at about 330,000 self-employed people that the government planned to support with this scheme. But the one we're talking about today are the transporters, because we also need to have some assistance. People that drive buses, that drive cars, Uber, Bolt, taxi drivers, keke napep people, Okada riders, and cart pushers. Under this track, once you qualify, then the person is entitled to up to 30,000 naira. That's the amount each person is going to get. We are not working with individuals. As much as possible, we would like to work with associations. And many of you are in various associations. What do you need to have to be eligible for this transport scheme? One, you have to be a Nigerian, and I'm sure we're all Nigerians here. Number two, you must have a verifiable BVN, because the money will be sent to your bank. So each person that will benefit from this must have a verifiable BVN number. Number three, you must be a transport sector self-employed business person or MSME. You must be associated with the transport sector of the economy. Number four, you must belong to a transport association. And the last one is that once we know you belong to any of the associations, we are going to enumerate people from the various associations. And it's on the first come, first served basis until the money has been fully disbursed. We also have targets per state, which means, each state has a certain minimum, which means on the average, at least in every state, at least 4,500 people will benefit minimum in each state.
Despite the initial apathy towards the scheme, the program soon began gaining traction as real beneficiaries began to emerge.
The MSME help my business, even help my family.
You can buy some stuff like tailor materials, then we start selling it. Thank you, federal government, for the MSME Survivor Fund. We really appreciate it.
The Project Delivery Office, PDO, is the clearinghouse for all the strategic activities to support the initiative, whether it's monitoring, data collection, data analysis, reporting, or even execution.
As a project delivery office, we go to field to monitor things. go to field to monitor enumeration, go to field to monitor verification, and go to field to get a sample and get a feedback from people how they feel about the scheme, if actually it's been run the way it's meant to be run, what are their takes, and get their own feedbacks in general. The truth is that yes, the people need more, but do you know what? The people have felt the impact of this scheme. By the time we started implementing the payroll and people started getting the monies into their own accounts, as we said, when you say you pay 30,000, they start receiving 30,000. Where they are paying 50,000, they are receiving 50,000. Not 49.5, not 29.5. When and the portal closed because we had to aggregate all those that were qualified and distributed them according to states. But we now realized that a lot of states had not met their quota, so we needed to reopen. But first, we needed to get out those states that had actually made their quota. We opened for the first instance. We opened for 6 weeks, less than 500,000. I think 463 or thereabouts. When we reopened for the second phase, and told people that for states that's 30 states that have not met their quota, please go, and we'll be opening for just 7 days. In 7 days, we had 892,615. These guys are saying that this thing is real. I applied. I don't know anybody in Abuja. I don't know any big man. I applied. They called me, verified from me. Did you apply? How many staff do you have? And what business do you do? How much do you pay them? The next thing, send your account details. The next thing, they are seeing alerts in their account. No one is asking them for money. So somebody told their neighbor. The neighbor told somebody working. Somebody working told somebody driving. So everybody, the words are going around that this survival fund thing is real.
As the second phase of the scheme gets underway, and with only about half of the 75 billion naira earmarks for the scheme so far spent, it's important to take a look at the key performance indicators to see how the program has fared based on impact and reach. Under the payroll support track, the Survival Fund has paid the salaries of at least 296,032 workers in 36 states, including the FCT, over the course of 3 months. 127,380 of these paychecks have gone to women, while at least 919 people with special needs have received salaries. Under the artisan track, the fund has supported 91,348 MSMEs, amongst whom are carpenters, tailors, shoemakers, mechanics, and the like, each receiving between 30 and 50,000 naira grants. So far, 40,386 women have benefited from this track, and 721 people with special needs in all 36 states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, have gotten funds. Enrollees under the transport track of the scheme are currently being enumerated as government targets 166,500 transport workers across the country. 8,325 of these have special needs, while 74,925 are women. In the ongoing formalization support category, where the federal government is offering to register 250,000 businesses for free, 100,000 new businesses have been registered. 45,000 of them are owned by women, and 5,000 slots went to people with special needs. As we speak, 117,909 CAC certificates have been generated. The scheme has been immensely successful, and the reasons are not far-fetched. Fairness, experience, hard work, public-private partnership, technology, strategic communication, and brilliant stakeholder management are all in the mix.
I represent NASME and by extension the private sector. Okay? Because in any committee, government brings the funding, but it is targeted to some people. And the feedback of that beneficiary is so crucial to the success of the program. Okay, so I have had opportunity to travel to see my chapters outside Abuja. I have gone to Lagos, I've gone to Aba, I've gone to Ebonyi, and everywhere I go, my chairman of our chapters tell me how it is, how they are feeling the program, and I feed it back to the committee. I think it's a very innovative scheme that involves not just the funding agencies or regulatory agencies, but also the beneficiaries, so that the feedback is immediate. I think it's a highly successful program, in my judgment.
The good thing about this project is we were able to achieve equitable distribution of resources within the country. You see that resources and numbers were shared equally to the 34 states, only with exception of 3 states for obvious reasons. Lagos, Kano, and Abia State, because they have the highest number of MSMEs, and they were known all over the country for a very long time as business hub in the country, representing the 3 geopolitical zones of the country. And the second beautiful aspect of the project is, this is one of the federal government projects that the people believed in. They were able to see it clearly on the implementation of this project. And you know, the strategy that we did under the media and publicity was to be able to reach the local content, that is the local people at their own level. We were able to create jingles that we air jingles on all the local languages, major local languages, in Yoruba, in Hausa, in Igbo, in Kanuri, in Pidgin, as well as in English. So generally there are a lot of information, and we use local radios within those states, local FM station within the state. And then apart from doing that, we are able also to do a stakeholders engagement. But the final thing that attracts people was when we started disbursing.
One of the key policies of the scheme provides that 45% of the support goes to women and 5% to people with special needs. It's to ensure that no group is left behind.
It is not a surprise that government came up with such a policy, because over time, a particular segment of society has felt relegated to the background and neglected, and that has brought in some uproar amongst that particular segment of society. And by the way, we are all human beings, we are all citizens of this country, we have rights and privileges and responsibilities, and government equally has its role. And government's role affects the entirety of the citizens without let or hindrance. And so the policy is good in the sense that it has served as an umbrella covering the entirety of the citizenry.
It really affected our business because many parents kept their children at home and they were not paying. It has encouraged my staff to be coming to work. In fact, it made them happier.
Really gone a long way. Like, it really came when we really needed the money. At least we were able to offset some of the staff's debts. So
at least it boosts our source of income, and also it added life to our standard of living.
I thank the federal government very much for this wonderful support, which we least expected. It's a surprise, a big package.
More importantly, the entire operation of the scheme has been built on technology such that it's able to mine and curate data that the country can use in future.
Just go and apply. Once you apply and you meet certain requirements, the computer checks you and keeps you at a spot. When it's time for you to submit your documents, there's an automated message, bam, next week we expect you to submit your documents. Once that is done, bam, next week we need this from you. We need your details. You get an alert tomorrow. Everything automated.
Despite the reach, acceptance and impact of the first phase of the Survival Fund, there are lessons learned, and the recommendation to the federal government is clear.
More than 80% of all employment is SMEs. Almost 60% of GDP is SMEs. But the problem we have in Nigeria is that they are highly informal. They are highly informal, me and my wife kind of enterprises. So there's an aspect of this program which is called formalization program, okay, by CAC, okay? Now, that is giving, well, it's not enough, 250,000 free business needs, but it is a way to get them to formalize, okay? Now, once you formalize, it opens the door for SMEs, because if you go to any bank, they ask for CAC. If you go to anywhere for support abroad, are you registered?
Whatever the government gave you to enhance or to develop your businesses, please utilize it for that purpose. Don't divert the money for other purposes. This is one of the major problems that Nigerian MSMEs have.
With enough lessons learned, it's safe to proceed to the second phase of the intervention. The federal government is ready, and so are the people. Speaking about the implementation and impact of the Survival Fund at a recent virtual session with stakeholders, the chairman of the Economic Sustainability Plan, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, said, "The implementation of the Survival Fund by the federal government has sent the right signals that MSMEs are an important component of the economy, and so we must think out of the box in our engagements going forward."
My briefing this afternoon, therefore, is to inform you that the federal government is set to roll out the last two components of the schemes under the MSME Survival Fund, namely the Guaranteed Offtake Scheme and the General MSME Grant.
That announcement heralded the second phase of the Survival Fund, and potential beneficiaries are already being engaged. But here's what's unique about the Guaranteed Offtake Stimulus Scheme.
It is important to note that the purpose of the Guaranteed Offtake Scheme is to stimulate direct local production by enabling 100,000 MSMEs across the country who are in the production sector. They will be enabled with funds to produce post-COVID lockdown stimulus products. The scheme will give preference to products produced in reasonably sufficient volumes in each state of the Federation, which have the proven propensity to create jobs and have a multiplier effect on the surrounding economy. These products include face masks, hand sanitizers, liquid soap, disinfectants, and processed food. The target beneficiaries would be MSMEs registered in Nigeria and owned by Nigerians. These entities will get patronage from government via procurement of products with a value of 150,000 naira per business entity.
Recognizing all the major stakeholders, Mr. Tola Johnson admits that the scheme has so far delivered on its promise because the right partners are on board, all hands are on deck, and there are square pegs in square holes.
The drive to succeed came from the fact that both the president and the vice president just reposed the sort of confidence in our team and said, you know what, we want you guys to go and deliver this. Minister of Trade and Investment himself, Otunbani Adebayo, constantly checks up on us. What's going on? Where are we? What do we need to do? What are we where are we falling short? What role do you need me to play? The Minister of State is constantly asking me, that's the chairperson, Ajia Mariam Katagun, the PDO, Tola, what do we need to do? Where are we? Please, okay, these are our timelines. Then the NESP monitoring team, they're expecting this from us next week. Where are we with it? Do you need any help? What do we need to do? So basically speaking, all hands on deck.
Kawai ganin su ne suka karɓi sunana da akan number kuma da Allah da ikonsa kuma sai na ji Allah ɗin 30,000 naira.
Ta taimaka mana matuƙa sosai saboda ta farfaɗo mana da abubuwan da da mun yi nauyi a kai yanzu kuma sun taimake mu wajen ba mu jari.
Na sai kirkiranin mashin, na sai software, na sai tools na aiki nawa.
Sana'ata ita ce ɗinki.
Gaskiya muna godiya da irin taimakon da ke mana. Muna godiya ƙwarai da gaske. Muna gode gwamnatin tarayya, muna kuma gode gwamnatin Sababa Farm.
Small businesses are in for a good time as the federal government has vowed to sustain far-reaching interventions all embedded in its economic sustainability plan, as it partners with different strategic stakeholders, including the Bank of Industry. Aside from the post-COVID interventions, the Bank of Industry has a wide variety of funds that small businesses can benefit from. Reach out to the BOI today by visiting their website at boi.ng or call at any of their branches closest to you. And that will be our package on the program for today. Many thanks for watching. I'm Kayode Alayande. Bye now.